1 year and $750 later, and I turned this into that. Thanks for checking out the video today. As you might have guessed, this didn't cost me $750. These Similac canisters are recycled. Each one of them costs about $25 when they're filled with formula, but since they are used and I saved them from the trash, we'll call them free. The rough dimensions laid out, it was time to get cutting. Some of this wood was scrap. The pieces that you see me cutting up here were left over from a previous project, actually my workbench project. You can go check that out as one of the first videos I made. Grabbed a 3/4 inch sheet of the cheapest stuff I could find. Since this is going to be shop furniture, it doesn't really matter to me. This right here was a rough cut, just something that was able to get on the table saw and cut down easier. Using a straight edge helps, but a table saw is much better at getting perfect cuts. These 3/4 inch pieces are going to make up the bulk of the project. It's going to be the shelves and the sides and the top and the bottom. Using my crosscut sled, I cut down the pieces to length. These pieces here are going to make up the sides. I'm cutting a dado in them, and the jig that I made was not perfect. I goofed a little bit there and the gap was too large, but I'm not going to make another one. Here I used a dado blade, which I should have used for the sides, but was trying out a few different methods. These are going to be the shelves. They have a 1/4 inch dado cut in them for the dividers. Once I had most of the pieces cut, I just made sure that the canister would fit. I got everything held together with glue and some brad nails. One of the joints here I ended up just using screws for, and the bottom piece I used brad nails to hold it in place, but then I went back and added screws later for added support. Once I knew the dimensions of the shelves, I went ahead and cut all of the dividers out. This was a 4x8 sheet of 1/4 inch plywood, and it was a little wobbly and difficult to cut, but with the help of my sawhorse there, I was able to get a few rough cuts and then push them back through to get a more accurate cut. Using a block of wood to get the right size and not to bind the piece against the fence, I was able to cut out all of the dividers I needed very quickly. I enlisted the help of my beautiful wife here to help glue up the back of this. Once we had everything glued, I made marks where all the shelves were and put in a copious amount of brad nails. I wanted to put some edge band on the front of this plywood so that we didn't see the grain, and I have this awesome walnut scraps laying around, so I cut off some 1/4 inch pieces here and went ahead and started gluing them on. I just used tape to hold them on since they're not going to be that abused. Bonus to this is it's also going to hold in all of the dividers, so I won't need to glue or fasten those down in any way. Since I didn't have a lot of this scrap, I wanted to make sure I utilized it in the best way possible. So I cut each individual piece as I went, making sure that I used exactly as much as I needed and no more. Once all the pieces were cut, fitted, and glued in place, it was time to do some cleanup. I used my router with a flush trim bit on it to clean up the edges all the way around, and then I used my new orbital sander to sand everything down. Brand new gloves. If you're new to orbital sanders, you need to be careful that you don't take off too much material or too much of your new gloves. I used a temporary cleat to get the shelf lined up where I wanted to and level. I used some tung oil finish on the walnut just to bring out the grain and to make it pop a little bit. Again, it's shop furniture and I'm not too worried about what it looks like, but hey, it's walnut. I used 6 screws to fasten it to the wall. I plan on just cutting the box that the screws come in and hot gluing them to the front of the bin. It makes it easy to see what they are really quickly. If I ever get a label maker, maybe I'll make them all uniform.
Thanks for checking out the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one as much as I did. I'm gonna eventually fill this thing with screws, bolts, anything and everything hardware. I look forward to making to a matching tool cabinet, tool cubbies. This project was really designed for me to be able to use a bunch of different tools, learn a bunch of things, get a bunch of disciplines in. I got to use an orbital sander for the first time. Overall, it came out great for a piece of shop furniture. Thanks, take care.